Phil Perry covers the Patriots, a Patriots insider for NBC Sports Boston, kind enough to join us. So, Diggs at practice, but didn't talk. What kind of update has the media been given on his availability to address what happened recently?
Yeah, we haven't been given any update, Dan, and thanks for having me, first of all. But I think what's probably going to happen is during the mandatory minicamp portion of the offseason calendar here, so that'll be June 9th through 11th for the Patriots, that we would at some point have some availability to him. So we're going to apply as much pressure as humanly possible, Dan, and we're going to make sure we get him in front of a microphone. I think he's probably not all that scared of speaking to us. On his way out to the field yesterday, he made sure to basically stop and wave at the cameras and say, nice to see you all. So I think he'll be ready to talk to us whenever the team will allow it.
If I gave you the first question, what are you asking, Stefon Diggs?
Can you tell us what was in the bag? I think that to me is kind of at the crux of it. And I think his answer, Dan, while I wouldn't expect him to be all that forthcoming with us, we'll see. I think how he answers that question to Mike Vrabel could make a serious impact on their relationship moving forward. Mike is obviously a former player. He is not naive to what players might be doing on Memorial Day weekend when they're away from the team during the voluntary portion of the NFL calendar. But I think if you're going to start off on that kind of foot where he can tell if you are being dishonest with him, that you've been dishonest with him, that to me doesn't bode well for that relationship moving forward, as desperately as the Patriots need him. They need this guy. They need him to be on the field. They need him to be their best receiver, which to me is asking a lot for somebody who's coming off of his injury and is on the other side of 30. But that's sort of where they're at in terms of that receiver room and the talent offensively on the team overall. But I think that the answer to that question for Diggs to Vrabel and what was he doing on the boat and what kind of decisions were being made will be really critical for them.
Is this a Patriots situation, or does this escalate that this is an NFL situation?
I think the difficult part of this, if the NFL was ever going to try to get involved, is how would you prove anything? Right? I mean, the video we have is what it is. You can't really tell what's in the bag. He's not actually consuming anything that was in the bag. He's giving it away. He is saying, it sounds like, don't do it all. Go have a good time and then come back and see me. So, that doesn't sound great if you're the Patriots or the NFL, but I don't know how you would enforce anything other than maybe to use the league's broad powers of being able to punish these guys the way they used to without much in the way of evidence. But I think they've kind of gotten away from that, and they've wanted to rely more on, okay, if something happens, if law enforcement gets involved and they have been convicted of something, then we'll step in and we'll punish from there. I think they want to get out of the legal business, the law enforcement business, quite frankly. So I think this would, if anything, Dan, my guess is, because if you're Vrabel, you have to do something, I think. You have to do something. You're trying to establish a culture here. You're trying to show that, we're not only going to make sure we hold the guys that are on the lower end of the totem pole to a certain standard, but this guy's going to be one of our best players, we think. And we have to make sure we hold him to that very same standard. So my guess is there might be some kind of fine or something else behind closed doors that the rest of the team knows about to make sure that they have made a statement in the aftermath of all this.
How's the building different since Belichick left?
Well, it was very different last year under Gerard Mayo, that's for sure. I think Mayo wanted to make sure, even though he spent his entire pro career under Belichick, that he was going to make it very clear to everybody that business was going to be done differently. What's interesting with Vrabel is that he wants to separate himself from Bill too, but we're hearing some of the same messages, maybe it's a slightly different wording involved, but we're still hearing, I think he even said it, maybe even in this order, Dan, during his introductory press conference, that he wants smart, tough, and dependable players. We've been hearing smart, tough, dependable from Bill, and I'm sure other coaches as well. But that was one of Bill's, relied upon cliches in that building for years and years and years. And we're still hearing it from Mike. Mike is a big fan of saying things like he wants players who are going to treat the team appropriately. And if they don't, then he has to protect the team. And Bill had it right on the door as you were leaving the building, put the team first. Speak for yourself, put the team first. And so there are going to be some Belichickian kinds of vibes with Vrabel, whether he wants to acknowledge it or not. And he I think, would bristle at the notion that there would be any similarities between the two of them. But there are. They're old school football guys. They want their team to be run a certain way. Mike, I think, will be much more of a player's coach, and you're already hearing that from some of the players. But just in terms of their overall philosophies, they're pretty similar.
As far as reporters, how many are still covering Belichick? How important is that story in New England now that he's in North Carolina?
Oh, it's huge. We talk about it almost every day. The Jordan Hudson stuff, I mean, we can't get enough up here, Dan. It is the story, I would say, in the even as the Celtics are making a run in the postseason, the thing that people will stop you on the street and ask you about is Bill Belichick and Jordan Hudson and what's going on there, and how is he allowing this to happen, and how long is he going to last at North Carolina? We talk about it almost every night because there's almost every day there's something new. Thank God for our buddy Pablo Torre. I mean, unbelievable the work that he's been doing, and I know there are others who may look at that and say, is that how we should be spending our time? I heard Bill Simmons say something to that effect recently on a podcast, but people are interested. And so, I get it. And we certainly are interested still up here as well. And I think people are just fascinated to see what the football looks like. Of course, they're interested in all the Jordan Hudson stuff. I mean, we had people that were interested in the Miss Maine pageant results a couple of weeks ago, Dan. So people are 100% in on that end of the storyline. But I think people really want to see, how is Bill going to be able to handle college kids? How is he going to adapt to the college game? Is he going to actually be able to win? If he doesn't, what do those press conferences look like? Because for those of us that have sat in those rooms, I covered Bill for almost 15 years and sat in the front row for a lot of those press conferences and got a lot of very awkward stare downs and very awkward pauses, and sometimes worse than that, which I'm sure everybody that's listening is familiar with as well. So if you're writing for the Daily Bugle on North Carolina's campus there, whatever that is, the Daily Tar Heel, how do those interactions go with Coach Belichick? That to me is a fascinating part of this too, if it doesn't go all that great on the football field.
I'll give you 5 minutes with Belichick or 5 minutes with Stefon Diggs.
I'm taking Diggs in that scenario, Dan, because I think even after covering Bill as long as I've covered him, I'm not sure 5 minutes with Bill is going to yield all that much.
What about
for me,
Jordan?
Personally.
What about his girlfriend? 5 minutes with Jordan Hudson or Stefon Diggs?
I'm taking Diggs.
Okay,
but I'm curious. I would like to hear your reporter's instincts on that. Like if you had Diggs, what would be the first thing you would ask him?
Same thing. I would say what was in the bag. Yeah.
I think you have to, right?
Well, yes, because it's videoed. I mean, he saw it. He was being videotaped. And it's not like he was done in a clandestine, surreptitiously way. He was there presenting this, and there's Cardi B and 2 other women there. They're not crushed up sweet tarts. I mean, there's something there. So yeah,
not Fun Dip. You didn't think it was Fun Dip?
Well, it was for him and them. I'm guessing it was Fun Dip in a different way. But yeah, I think you got to ask that. And I don't know how he's going to answer this, because at some point he has to answer it. But does it go away soon after that? And certainly, if you play well, nobody cares. I wouldn't have signed him to begin with. At that age, coming off an injury, I don't want him to do to Drake May what maybe he was doing to Josh Allen, even though he was really good with Josh Allen. There's a reason why he's bounced around to a couple of teams here. I want Drake May to establish his own receivers. And I brought up when Baker Mayfield was in Cleveland and they brought in OBJ, and he deferred to OBJ to the detriment of Baker Mayfield and the team.
It's so interesting because this is why they made such a hard push for Chris Godwin. They tried to blow him out of the water, and they did financially. He just didn't accept it. But they went above and beyond time and again in their pursuit of Godwin, in part because not only is he a good player, although he's coming off an injury as well, but he's considered an unbelievable teammate and a great locker room guy and the kind of positive force that you would want to impact on your young quarterback. They went after DK Metcalf. They let him know, hey, would you sign with us long term if we traded for you? He told them no, which I think surprised them. I think that has been maybe one of the biggest surprises to Vrabel since he's taken the new job, is their inability to convince guys to join them in New England. The DK Metcalf one specifically, somebody within the organization told me after he ended up signing with Pittsburgh, man, must be a huge Mason Rudolph fan, I guess.
Well,
because
it comes down to this. The reason why players wanted to go there was because Tom Brady could help you win a Super Bowl. That's it. That's it. Yeah, yeah, I got to play with Bill Belichick. Coach, it's about, I'm going to go there. I'll put up with this the Patriot way, but I get to play with Tom Brady, and I might win a Super Bowl. I mean, that's power. And you don't have
they're
that.
Convinced. Yeah, they don't. And they're convinced that, if they don't get to that level, which, whoever gets to that level, but they're convinced, this regime is convinced that they will win eventually, and they'll be able to convince more players than they have, maybe not to the same degree they would have been able to with Belichick and Brady, but that will change eventually. It's just, I think, really hard for them. It might be really hard for them to just get out of the blocks, because as good as a coach as Mike Vrabel is, and I think he's a good coach, and I think Josh McDaniels is a great offensive coordinator, if you don't have the talent, it's really, really hard to win in this league. And they might have a great quarterback. Drake May, I think, is uber talented, and we'll see what he develops into, but they need those pieces around him. That receiver room, if Diggs is going to be their best player, I think that is testament to what they have in that receiver room, which is probably not enough right now.
Great to talk to you, Phil. Thanks for joining us, and good luck with that first question to Stefon Diggs.
I'll let you know how it goes, Dan. Appreciate you having me. Thanks so much.
We'll be listening. That's Phil Perry, the Patriots insider, NBC Sports Boston.